All right, everyone. So we're going to give you our reaction to War Games Survivor Series. It just got finished, and I thought it was pretty good. We're going to go match by match and give you our thoughts. So we'll start with the women's War Games match. So it was Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi Io Sky, and Bailey versus Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. Look, the fans loved this match. They were doing so many crazy things, taking a ton of risks. Io Sky did her she put the garbage can over and did a crazy flip. She did that again. That was awesome. Um, there was tables. There was, just everything you could think of was in this match. There was multiple chants for, this is awesome, all of that kind of stuff. I thought there was good storytelling, different moments here, different moments there. And it ended with Rhea Ripley getting a pin over Liv Morgan. So this is a big deal, because it was Rhea Ripley over Liv Morgan. Those two are obviously feuding, and so that kind of begins now something new that they're going to do. Another key part of this is Tiffany Stratton attempted to cash in the Money in the Bank. Now we don't know who exactly she was going to cash it in on because Nia Jax and Liv Morgan were laying right next to each other, but this could be something in the future that we see, with a rivalry starting. I don't know if WWE is going to go in that direction, but they certainly can. So I thought this match was pretty good, and I thought the fans loved it, which is really all that matters. Certainly you could say that there were some botches here, botches there, but nothing that really ruined it necessarily. But there was nothing huge besides the way it ended. It was just exciting to watch. There was no huge storyline aspect other than that. So then we move to the United States Championship, which is LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura actually won. This might have been the biggest surprise of the whole night, to be completely honest with you, was Shinsuke winning the match, and clearly they're going to give him a push. The match was fine. I don't think it was, the best match ever, but it was fine. And I thought the end, actually having a twist with Nakamura winning, was actually the best part of the whole thing, because nobody was kind of expecting it. You can kind of see it in the crowd. And so we'll see what kind of push they're going to give him. They've certainly made him more of a much more serious character, and I think that could do a lot of good for his character. So we'll see what they do next. Then the next match was Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser, and I thought they did a perfect job of keeping the championship on Braun Breaker, but not taking anything away from Sheamus or Ludwig Kaiser. This was a brutal match. This was a absolutely brutal match that ended in Braun Breaker winning. But I think anybody who watched it would go, okay, sure, Braun Breaker won. Sure, Braun Breaker remains a champion, but Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser both kind of get over as well because of how good this thing went. So it was just your typical triple threat brutal match, and I thought it was definitely above average. There's no question about that. And then we go to the next one, which was Gunther versus Damian Priest. Gunther ended up winning, retaining the title thanks to the help of Finn Balor. So what this is setting up now is Gunther maintains the championship. Finn Balor and Priest are going to be going at each other. And, one of the biggest things about it is that Priest didn't lose any steam. That's important. If Damian Priest lost clean, it's not that everyone would be like, oh, he stinks now, but he would have lost a little bit of steam. With this, with Finn Balor screwing him again, all it does is set up for a big, big, rivalry between those two. It doesn't really take away, in a sense, from what they're building with him, and yet they still can keep the title on Gunther. So I thought that was a very good match. I thought, clearly it was one of those matches where, Finn Balor, or not Finn Balor, Damian Priest was injured, and so they just kept going at, Gunther kept going at that shoulder, and then obviously ended up with him passing out for the end. So I thought, good match, Gunther wins, perfect. Then we get to the big match, and this was the Bloodline versus Bloodline match. Now, I'll say this. It was fantastic. There was a lot of cool spots. It was devastating. And that ending with, they're all kind of walking out of the ring. I thought all of that was perfectly well done. It was good. But certainly, if you're looking at this pay-per-view as a whole, there really was no big shocks. This was a typical pay-per-view. This was everything you would have expected basically happened, besides Shinsuke winning the United States Championship. But the ending of this match was, it was a fantastic match to watch. There was nothing wrong with it. It was exciting. You get weapons. It was brutal. I mean, you felt Bronson Reed, how brutal he is. You felt how brutal Jacob Fatu is. These guys, everyone played their part perfectly. and you could watch this match over and over again because it was so exciting. But there was no big shock at the end. There was no return. There was none of that. It was simply, basically what you would expect. The good guys win, and I think it's interesting. With the way that WWE has framed this, and we said this before, the pay per view as well. They framed this in a way that is to say that by them winning, they got momentum. They didn't say, "Oh, it's over." They're framing this as, "Okay, now they got the momentum, and this thing is still ongoing." Now, the question of what happens in the future, we don't necessarily know the answer to, but it is important to kind of keep that in the back of your head of, okay, so had they lost this match, this would have been Solo kind of taking control of everything, and he wins. But just because these guys won doesn't mean it's over at all, right? That's not what happened. And so I guess we're going to get maybe one, two more, pay per views out of this feud between the two. And then at some point, The Rock is going to come back and really kind of throw a wrench into this whole thing. And I don't know how that's all going to shake out, but my guess is that's what's going to happen. And so overall, I would say this was, in terms of matches, this was an A plus pay per view. I mean, both War Games matches lived up to expectation and surpassed it. The women's War Games match, the fans were excited for the entire thing. There was not a moment of that match, once it really got going, that people were like, this isn't going. It was fantastic. And like I said, there was a few mistakes in there, especially early, but they were just doing things. They were taking risks, and they all paid off. I thought it was great. The final War Games match, once again, hit all the way across. There was no big shock, but the actual in match stuff was good. So this is one of those pay per views in which, the wrestling in ring really saved a lot of it because there was no big shock. There was no moment of, oh my God, this just happened. And sometimes, you can't always have those big shocking moments because if you always have them, you basically never have them because no one will ever kind of be shocked by what you're doing. You can't continue to manufacture big shocking moments. I think they did a great job of just saying, look, we got two War Games matches. Let's make those War Games matches as good as they can be and exciting to watch. And that's exactly what they did. So thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought of the pay-per-view down below.